This game will be called One Step Ahead. I'm playing a Class A player, which is someone between 1800 and 2000. So there's 10 points in it for me if I win. And we've got a queen pawn opening, so it's going to be a very active game. And I go with my French defence. Or is it the rat defence? I can never remember, I'm sorry. And then he does this like Sicilian style thing. And just getting ready to castle as quick as possible and grab some of these dark squares. Grab some light squares. I close it up. I'm not so fond of broken up games. I'm not so fond of trading all the material early in the game. I prefer to play a complex game. So that means I prefer to play closed games in general. So out comes the knight. Out comes my opposite knight. He's come to a funny square with that knight. I'm not quite sure what the idea is with that because he's kind of hemmed in. And now he pushes this pawn, creating a weak pawn on his e-file. Not that good an idea. And instead of fianchetto coming into the middle of my bishops, I'm very fond of coming into the middle of my bishops and sort of fianchettoing them in reverse. They command more squares in the middle. The squares they're on at the moment are command a lot. So here we have now his other knight comes up, and instead of defending each other, he's getting ready to castle. So, but I just first of all want to force this bishop to trade off. I don't want him to have that light square bishop. That's his powerful bishop at the moment. That's his good bishop, because you see his pawns are all on dark squares. So that's his good bishop. I want to get rid of that, so I can pretty much make it happen here.
Check.
And he's tempted by trying to break up my pawn structure. That's a temptation that proves too great for him, so he's willing to trade it for that, but I think that was a bad trade for him.
Kinside castling.
We both castle, and that's the end of the opening, and it's quite an interesting gridlocked almost game. It's really not gridlocked at all because of the pawn structure on my queen side. He looks gridlocked, but he really isn't, and it's going to open up pretty quick. He's going to push this pawn here first of all, and I just take it. Simple. I'm not going to waste time taking that rook. He can do that. I'd rather develop a piece, spend the time developing a piece, than waste time taking something. He feels the same, so that's good. I mean, it's good that he's got that depth of play, and advances this knight here. So the queen's already covering any knight forking possibilities, and I'm just bringing the rook back to here to say that I'm in it for the long haul. I'm not in it for quick. Thank you, ma'am. Going to endgame. No way. Got to watch the idea. I mustn't try to advance that pawn that's in front of that rook, because if I do, he's going to be able to capture my knight with a very nasty fork there. So we don't want to move that pawn at all. Captures it anyway, which is kind of weird, but I think he's just looking at messing up my structure, possibly giving himself a passed pawn somehow. But actually I'm okay with this structure. It's not that bad. I can do a blockade move here, and the only way to break that blockade now is to either trade rooks, which perhaps wouldn't have been a bad idea, or advance this pawn, which I think would have been a bad idea. So he instead just brings more artillery into the fold. So he's a slow player, he's a subtle player, he's a British player actually, this one. And I kind of appreciate all of that. Bring my knight back to here. The knight's going to come over to the queen's side to worry that rook. I want that rook to have problems. And he brings his bishop here. You see, this is his bad bishop. It can't do anything at the moment. It's pretty useless. It's absolutely crucial to how this game turns out, though. That bishop proves to be the key piece in deciding the fate of this game in a very odd way, and you'll see why I've called this game One Step Ahead. So now I can threaten the rook here, and he can come here, which was, you know, the original idea I suggested he might want to try. The queen move is with a view to moving the other rook all the way over and forcing an exchange of rooks, which would strand my knight in the corner, but it would be worth it, I think, just to sort of dispel this threat that's looming with his rooks. I don't think he's got much of a game on the queen side. His queen can't get in, his bishop can't get in, his knight can't get in. The only thing he can do is get these rooks mobilised-ish. So now this is just a blockading move. I just want to stop him developing so that he has to make mistakes, so that he has to do stupid things. I've left him no sensible things to do. I really want to move my knight. I really do want to move my knight up to that c4 square, but his knight's in the way, so I kind of want him to move that, and he does. He kind of reads my mind and moves it. And this is great because with this move now, his knight cannot advance. Bishop with a 2 square gap from the knight is always lovely. It always completely prevents that knight from advancing. And you know, my black bishop's not doing a hell of a lot apart from that, so it's good to put it to use. And he decides to put the knight here, threatening my queen. Very odd move, because as I say, my bishop wasn't doing a lot anyway. And now this is broken open the king's side from counterattack. First thing to do, just make sure this is all well defended down here, and we've got quite a nice neat little structure going on here where everything's defending everything else. The queen can now leave these guys to all defend each other, and he puts his bishop on here, which is kind of thinking quite a long way ahead. And now I can worry his rook takes, and now my knight's on an unassailable and very nice square. Take that pawn, threatening his queen straight away. So king comes over to defend that pawn, and now I move my queen onto the black squares because his king's on the black squares. And she's got some nasty forking possibilities coming up. So he does a questionable move here, and my queen comes here. So we've got a few different weird possibilities here. You know, knight can take that e-pawn, threatening his queen, but my queen is undefended at the moment. At the moment, the threat is queen takes the e-pawn with check. So he defends against that with the bishop. And I did something a bit sneaky. Normally you would do maybe move here, so then I'm threatening check and he can move his king back to defend that pawn. But I did something sneaky. I laid a trap for him. I moved my queen to here, hoping that he would try a good old tried and tested trap that I've used myself many times, which is to move this pawn forward, look like I'm doing a little pawn advance in the middle to break it up, actually revealing an attack on the queen. So I laid my queen open for him there on purpose, and he bit the bait. Check. And then it's check here, and there is no way he can save his queen. He resigned. Matter of fact, his king will have to move on to either that square, check, or that square to save further embarrassment, because check. Otherwise if he moves onto this square, check, it just gets even more embarrassing. Check. So that was really subtle, one step ahead. Just I saw that he had that revealed check, and I thought, let's just leave it there, and you know, maybe look as if I'm not sure where to put my queen safely. And that really did him. I've won many queens using that move myself, that little pawn advance, but I'm afraid that was a trap. A nasty one at that. Check. And that gives me 10 points of rating. Yes, sirree, it does. 10 whole points from Bendy 2806, bringing me up to 1668.